Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central. It's the world's most popular In Wheel Time car talk show. Just ahead, we talk to Scott Kunes, COO of Kunes Auto and RV Group. Konrad will have the In Wheel Time Car Clinic. We'll have this week's auto news headlines as well. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Konrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Saturday for our live broadcast. Thank you very, very much. Joining us now is Scott Kunes. And Scott...
that's not the way it's pronounced. Well, we'll let Scott tell us.
Scott.
He just sent a text. I'm just saying. Yeah, as soon as I can get, as soon as he unmutes, he can tell us exactly.
Can you unmute yourself there, Scott? Well, I'm sorry because I wasn't given the privilege of knowing how to pronounce your last name.
I wasn't either.
No, that's all right. Yeah, it's Kunes, but that's all right.
Kunes.
There you go.
I'm sure I'm not the first one to pronounce it Kunes.
No, you are not.
I was thinking Scott. I thought, how many ways can you pronounce Scott?
Exactly.
So he is the COO of the Kunes Auto and RV Group. Where are you located?
We are located in the Midwest, and our headquarters is in Wisconsin, but we have stores in Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota.
Where are you in Wisconsin?
Right near Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Oh, okay, very nice. It's a very nice part of Wisconsin, as a matter of fact. That's where all of the Chicagoans go. Kind of like that in North Chicago.
And what's the temperature there right now?
Right now we're about 30 degrees. So,
ooh, it's a heat wave.
Yeah, it's not too terrible. We got a little snow last night, a couple inches. So,
very nice. So, Scott, we wanted to talk to you today about leasing. Tell me a little bit about your auto group first.
So, our auto group was founded 26 years ago by my father, and started out in a small town just outside of Lake Geneva called Delavan, Wisconsin. And in the past 26 years, we've grown to just about every make and model. And 4 years ago, we entered the RV realm, and we have 14 RV stores throughout Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Illinois.
Wow.
Very nice. So you have a lot of experience, not only in sales, I assume, but also in leasing.
Yeah, leasing is something that I think is poised to make a pretty big comeback here, especially with interest rates rising and the used car market. You know, we had a glut, not a glut, but we had a lack of vehicles built between 2020 and 2023. Right.
Yeah.
And so that is now starting to hit the used car market. We're seeing that in pricing already, even though interest rates are pushing demand down, because we're about estimates are anywhere 7 to 10 million vehicles behind where we should be in terms of the new vehicles that were sold in the past 3 years. So if you think about it this way, a lot of people often buy a 3-year-old vehicle, right? And that's their kind of trade cycle. Somebody buys a new vehicle, they trade it in 3 years, somebody else buys that vehicle. Well, that 3-year-old vehicle is severely lacking in the market right now. So to keep those payments down and affordable with the higher interest rates, I do foresee leasing making a pretty large comeback.
Well, let's not forget the price of new vehicles that has skyrocketed here in the past few years. I mean, my gosh, we're pushing a $50,000 average price for a new vehicle sold. I mean, that's getting way up there, man. I did drive a $20,000 Kia Soul not that long ago, a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact. And a nice car, but I can't even imagine them keeping them on the lot at all because there aren't any $20,000 cars anymore.
No, and it's amazing. Most of the manufacturers are exiting that market right now. They're looking, the manufacturers like to kind of demonize dealers a little bit and saying we charged over sticker and all that kind of stuff, but their profits and their average MSRP has gone up so much in the past 3 years. They have just as much of a hand to play in it as well. But I think the biggest thing that they've done is they've looked at it and said these higher dollar vehicles and trucks make them more profit to their bottom line.
Absolutely.
And if you look, most of them are exiting that entry car market. Ford did away with the Focus. Chevy did away with the Cruze. They came out with an EcoSport so they came out with some smaller SUVs, but it's still doesn't help in that area that we're missing right now. And in fact, I was just talking to the Mitsubishi reps, and they're going to be pushing away from the Mirages and G4s. And I told them, I said, I think you're making a giant mistake. There's going to be a void in the market for a sub $20,000 new vehicle, and no one's building it. Toyota's got the Corolla, and they're pushing that, and they're doing very, very well with it.
But I think, like you said, though, it's profit. They're looking at where the profitability is, and it's like the higher price, the higher profit margin. Toyota's got a long history with the Corolla, so they've already got a lot of research, got a lot of investment in there already that they can work with. So I can see that, but the rest of them, I think you're right. They're chasing the money.
Well, and you also talk about how in the queue of used cars, how that's kind of a shrinking queue of cars available. Not only, because that was filled up by the cars coming off lease, the 2 and 3 year leases were filling that up, but also the rental car turnaround, that virtually stopped in 2020 when all the rental cars just dumped their vehicles because they weren't renting cars because of COVID. So those,
and it actually flipped on us there a little bit. The rental car companies, they dumped a lot of their cars, and kind of flooded the market with them. Then they couldn't get cars. So before, when I used to be a used car buyer, and I'd be buying vehicles from the rental car companies direct to put onto my lot. Now the rental car companies were calling us to buy vehicles, and I was competing against them in the auction lanes. And when they're not looking for a vehicle to sell, they're looking for a vehicle to fill a niche that they're going to rent out over and over again. So that also drove the price of the market up, because you had Enterprise, Hertz, Dollar, all of them in the lanes competing against dealers that now we can't retail the car because they're just looking to rent the car. They have to fill a need, right?
And they were willing to pay more for it to do that.
Yep.
Well, there's a story, Automotive News this week. Sometimes less is more. Stellantis saw North American operations power profit gains for 2022, a year in which top brands Ram and Jeep saw their U.S. sales fall by double digits. Pricing power and higher-end content was the key. Overall, Stellantis said its average transaction price in the U.S. was $53,000.
Wow.
They are now making, adjusted operating income from North America surged 23% to $14.8 billion for the second year since the merger of Fiat Chrysler and PSA. I mean, that is a lot of money. So they're selling less cars, but they're getting more for them, and they're killing it at the bank.
Yeah.
And
they're not the only ones.
I'm sure, yes.
Ford has posted record profits. GM has posted record profits. So they're all taking advantage of the situation and moving, vehicles. And I think there is going to be a reckoning at some point here, especially, like I said, with them exiting that entry car level. Now, the nice thing, and we started on this topic, was, but the average new car payment was something around $730 last report from NADA. Wow. But the used car payment was, I think, right around $580.
Used cars.
Used cars. Used cars. And the lease payment finally cracked down. The average lease payment finally went down below $600. So we're seeing that lease payment enter that used car territory, which should help to alleviate some of that. And with higher interest rates, when you're borrowing on a smaller dollar amount, leasing, you're only paying for that depreciation. You have your payment can be much more affordable. You're only paying interest on that payment.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, now 7 years for a new car payment?
Loan.
Yeah, loan. And I'm going 7 years. Man,
we've actually gone as far as 96 months on a new car loan.
Oh,
and there's some banks out there that are floating the what would be the next one, 102 months and then 108 months.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Why would somebody put themselves into debt for a car for that long a period of time? Why? Just to keep the monthly payment down and have some big expensive car?
I mean, that's it. And when you're looking at it, here's the thing. I mean, with a new vehicle, a lot of times, when we're talking to people about a vehicle, someone will come in and say, well, I want a low payment. I need a used car and I need a payment that's going to hit a certain range. And we look at it and say, okay, well, now you're looking at a vehicle with over 100,000 miles on it easily.
Well
right?
over, yeah.
And if that vehicle were to break down, if the engine was to go, whatever it may be, do you have the money to afford to be able to replace that vehicle if this one just died on you, right? And as we look at it, a lot of times, especially, for people that are living paycheck to paycheck that can afford to have a massive vehicle, catastrophe, a newer car is actually better, right? They have to pay up on a monthly payment longer, but they can, hopefully ride it out, and we always hope their situation improves over time. But
I come from the school that you buy what you can afford.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine going more than maybe 4 years. But, I'm still living in the 3-year time frame.
But you got to define your terms here, what you can afford. A lot of these people that he's talking about, they're looking at what can I afford per month. I don't intend, I'm not worried about paying it off. I can afford to spend $500 a month.
How much car can I get?
Yeah.
What about a decent down payment so you can avoid all that nonsense?
Nobody.
Yeah, well, like I said, a lot of these people are coming in, they're living paycheck to paycheck. This is the highest in history, a percentage of a person's paycheck that their car payment has made up. I think it was something I can't remember. NADA has the stats, and I'd have to try to look it up again. But it is the highest in history that the person's average monthly income goes towards a car payment right now.
So Scott, to me, it sounds to me like this business model, for lack of a better term, is kind of like the housing bubble that happened. People are buying more than they can afford, and they're going out 100+ months for a car that's 50 months, and they're zeroed out as far as what it's worth. But at some point in time, isn't it a possibility this is all going to bust just like the housing market did?
Well, yeah, and we've seen that before back in 2007, 2008, when the housing market did bust. I think that what actually was the catastrophe. I think the housing market was the result, but the start of it was actually the car bubble bursting at that point too. We were doing loans at that time. I could remember, we'd have loans at 250% of book value. And I was thinking to myself, this is unsustainable. And I was pretty young in the car business. Nobody was listening to me. But this is unsustainable, to have a vehicle that somebody owes the bank 2.5 times what that vehicle is worth, and their payment is already hard to afford. Now, all of a sudden, that person, and, it's kind of a thing in the car business that we always talk about. I mean, people kind of let their house go into default first because they need a car to get to work, right?
Right.
You can't have your car repossessed. You need the car to get to work and everything else. So a lot of times that's the second thing to go. But we've seen it before, and I think the difference is now is that supply issue that we have, right? The new car supply issue, still are seeing that. And the used car supply issue is now starting to catch up to us from the past 2 to 3 years.
But let's face facts. I mean, the new cars, they're starting to catch up. There are more cars on the lots. Don't you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. But from certain manufacturers,
yes,
and in certain price ranges and trim levels. I can get all the Jeep Wagoneers that I want right now, but can I get a Jeep Compass? I can't, right? So it is interesting where it's going. Toyota and Honda are still pretty tight. Hyundai is starting to loosen up a little bit, and we're seeing that on the Kia side too. That's one of the brands we don't have is Kia, but we're seeing that as a competitive set. And so, Ford has loosened up a little bit, but Chrysler is the one that seemed to always be able to have inventory on the ground. But again, it was that higher dollar unit, and that's, I think, why you could see they sold less cars and made more profit.
And the OEMs are learning to manipulate the market as well. I think GM just announced they're going to shut down the Fort Wayne truck assembly plant because they don't want so much inventory of trucks out there that it hurts the market itself. So they're going to tighten up the inventory of new trucks at the dealerships by not building any for a short period.
Well, you
of time.
go by some of the dealerships here in Houston, and that's all they have is trucks.
Yeah.
Lots
of them.
But that's Texas.
Well, I understand that.
Texas is 70% trucks.
Classic Chevrolet here in Sugar Land, as a matter of fact, they must have 500 white trucks.
Oh, yeah. Well, the white's generally the fleet.
I understand, but
fleet
they've got the
operations.
trucks. They've got the same amount of chipsets in them and that sort of thing. So
I actually saw a Compass the other day. You talked about it. Not getting a Compass. I saw one the other day.
Well, I think what I'm going to do, and maybe this is a suggestion for you too, we'll just get into the repo record. And we'll just invest our money there because apparently it looks as though that there's going to be a lot of repos here.
But I want to finance my repossession truck for 20 years.
Yeah. Do you have any repo wreckers on the lot that we can buy cheap?
I'm sure somebody does.
I got a couple. I can get that down to you.
I'm sure you can.
So Scott, in your operations on the lease side of things, have you found many lessors or lessees, the person who's paying for the lease, are they keeping the cars? Or are they still turning them in to get the next one? Because that's going to affect used inventory as well.
Yeah, that is. So, the manufacturers have really not incentivized. So before leasing, there was a lot of incentives to leasing. There was some, they helped on the rates. There was lease loyalty cash that would come out. They are still doing some lease loyalty cash, but it's not like the 2,500 we'd see before. It's 500, maybe 1,000. Depending on the vehicle that the person was leasing. The one nice thing for a lot of these lessees is that their vehicle is worth more than that residual value that that worked out 2 years ago. In fact, I leased a Yukon for a while there and was able to flip it and have actually quite a bit of equity, even though I had double the miles I was supposed to, because I kept it a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. So, which is nice. And we always say that leasing gives you options, not obligations, right? At the end of the lease term, you can either turn that vehicle back into the manufacturer or the bank that you leased it from. You can buy that vehicle and continue to drive it. Or if you're in a good equity position, you can buy that vehicle and trade it into the dealer and, use that equity to get into your next vehicle. So, that's one nice thing for people when they can lease, is that leasing gives them those options, not obligations. So if you're in a vehicle for even 72 months, but let's say 72 or 84 months, and after 3 years, you don't have the option to just say, you know what, the market's kind of crashed, I'm going to give that vehicle back. Yeah. Right.
Not without bringing it back with a big check to pay off the rest of it.
Exactly. Yes.
Scott, it's great.
That's the difference that we're seeing. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's the difference that we're seeing right now than I did from 2007, 2008, is that people are in an equity position. In 2007, 2008, everybody was in a vastly negative equity position. It was, we owed way too much on the vehicles that were on the road. And we're not seeing that right now. The demand's still there.
And back then, that was kind of the way my opinion was, that was kind of the way the market operated, because you could borrow more than the value of the vehicle. So you were bringing your negative equity from vehicle A to vehicle B, and then from vehicle B to vehicle C. Next thing you know, you're borrowing, 160, 170% of the value of the vehicle, just trying to roll the negative equity forward.
That's correct. But the nice thing is, I can remember a Taurus was $16,950, I think. So, now they don't even make the Taurus anymore. But I think right now, if that same Taurus would be about $45,000.
Well, I'll tell you what. All I can do is recommend that anybody going to visit Wisconsin, Lake Geneva, and take the mailboat tour, then by golly, they need to come and see you.
Well, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's great to talk to you. Sorry for messing up your name. Who was to know?
Okay.
Very educational. Thanks. You really brought some good information for us.
You really did. Thank you, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, you're on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Thanks for riding with us today. And time now for Konrad's Car Clinic.
What?
Yeah, the Car Clinic.
Well, lots of people have the code scanners, or you go into, the parts store and they hand you that little code scanner so you can go out and see why the check engine light's on in your car. Well, there's a new product out there because, for me, when I worked in the industry, a code scanner does very limited things. It'll tell you the code number, but it doesn't necessarily give you the details of what the code does, much less you can't watch data in the code reader unless you jump up and get a scanner. My first scanner was a Tech 1. I've had ODPs. I've had the Tech 2. The OBD2 stuff that's out there now, which is all laptop driven. I went out and saw this code. They call it a code reader, but it does a lot more than that. It's the Mucar CDE 900, and it'll not only read the codes, but you can go inside the system and see what the code is and what it does and some of the parameters of what it takes to set the code, which is pretty important to understand when you're trying to diagnose what's wrong. This code is set because, this isn't giving a certain bit of information. And then you can go in and you can literally watch the data on the scanner. Beautiful thing about this, it's a nice full color screen. It's got a good long pigtail. A lot of those code readers, you plug it in and there's no wire, not much wire attached to it. So
you got to get down there with
stuck under the dash trying to plug it in. Well, I can plug this in and set this all the way over on the center console and watch the data. So I can watch O2 sensors working, doing what they're supposed to do. You can watch other bits of serial data. Plus, this scanner I call it a scanner, but this code reader scanner can also do supplemental inflatable restraints, ABS systems, and transmission control modules besides just the ECM. So it's kind of got 4 packages built into one. And when I walked in, told you guys what I was doing today, Mars had said, yeah, code scanners, code readers are going to cost $20 to $30. This one costs $99, and you can find it on eBay. But like I said, the beauty of it is it's half scanner and half code reader. Oh. So it gives you that much more ability to do some diagnostics with this than just read the code. Because what happens to a lot of people is they plug the code reader in at AutoZone and it says O2 sensor code. And the AutoZone guy sells you an O2 sensor. I'm going to tell you, you want to go look and see what the O2 sensor is doing, because the high probability is, and I've watched this for years, if it sets a code for an O2 sensor, the O2 sensor is working. There's something that the O2 sensor is seeing it doesn't like, and that's why you have to look at the data of what the O2 sensor is doing, and you can do that with this.
Get down to the root cause of the problem.
Right. And then this is updatable. There's I think it's like a $40 subscription to get it updated. It comes in like 17 different languages, so it's
awesome.
kind of a worldwide thing.
Does it have Swahili in there?
I don't know if it has Swahili, but it's got a lot of. It's got.
Can you watch Mighty Mouse on it?
Nope, can't watch Mighty Mouse on it.
Just thought I'd ask.
Can't watch.
That's the $200.
The Beverly Hillbillies. Either.
Yeah. All right.
But if you're looking to make an investment in a scanner that does, or a code reader that does more than just read the codes, MUCAR 900 CDE is the one I would recommend to you.
You're donating that to In Wheel Time Show so we can take it with us on remotes and scan.
Sure.
Vehicles. All right.
Sure.
Cool.
A couple of stories I wanted to get in before the top of the hour. They say everything's bigger in Texas. That apparently includes monthly auto payments, according to Experian. The average fourth quarter new vehicle auto loan in the Lone Star State added up to a $787 monthly payment, the highest in the country, and $80 above the national average, according to an Experian analysis of all 50 states. Vermont borrowers
for 84 months.
Vermont borrowers received the nation's lowest average monthly payment on new vehicles. Still, it's not low, $625. Experian Senior Director of Financial Solutions, Melinda Zabritsky, told Automotive News she initially concluded Texas meant big trucks, with that vehicle class skewing monthly payments upward. But Vermont borrowers proportionately favored trucks more than Texas buyers, with trucks constituting 26% of Vermont's fourth quarter new vehicle loans, compared with 24% of those in Texas. Vermonters were more likely to buy crossovers or SUVs than Texans, with such vehicles representing 62% of the Vermont auto loan market, compared with 54% of the Texas fleet that quarter. Instead, creditworthiness appears to be the real reason Texas ranked number 1 in payments and Vermont number 50, according to Zabritsky.
So people in Texas make their payments. People in Vermont vote for Bernie Sanders.
Oh, God. The average fourth quarter new vehicle borrower in Texas had a 707 credit score and received a 6.3% interest rate, while the average Vermonter brought a 741 score to the deal and agreed to a 5.48% APR. Texans also agreed to pay that interest over a longer period of time, taking out 70-month loans on average, compared with 67.4 months in Vermont and the 69.5-month national average. Where do you fall in all of that is the question.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, at any rate, I thought
I think we
that
did
was
60 months on Angie's Mercedes.
60 months
Yeah. So we bought that in 18.
in 18.
So it's about getting close to getting paid off.
Lucky you. Ford Motor Company extending the downtime at an F-150 Lightning plant in Dearborn, Michigan for an additional week following a battery fire in a truck earlier this month. The automaker in a statement said battery supplier SK On has made some manufacturing changes and restarted production at its plant in Georgia. The fire in a truck occurred in a Dearborn holding lot on February 4th during a pre-delivery quality inspection and spread to two other vehicles, according to the company.
Some inspection.
Ford has said it is not aware of any issues with vehicles already in customer hands.
Buzz, we love you.
Does it catch fire? Yep.
A quick break now. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Tailpipes and Tacos, Houston's premier car cruise-in returns Saturday, April 15th to the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. Bring your Hot Rod Classic, Resto Mod, or any other vehicle you'd like to show and compete for one of 3 highly coveted Chili Pepper trophies. This April 15th kickoff event is one you'll want to put on your calendar because 100% of the money you donate for the free tacos will be given to God's Garage. You heard right. Free tacos. Whatever you decide to give, all of it will be given to God's Garage and matched by Lupi Tortilla. God's Garage gifts vehicles to single mothers, widows, and wives of deployed military in the greater Houston area. In fact, the Garage will gift a vehicle to a mom in need at this special event. Be sure to attend the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Saturday, April 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Free breakfast tacos for any donation to God's Garage. It'll make your heart and your belly feel good. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Konrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. That's it for this podcast episode of the In-Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.